Hello grade 10, this is your day 23 about equations. We are doing quadratic equations today. It's on page 47 in your textbook, but don't worry if you don't have a textbook, just remember that the notes have all of these examples in, and they also have the pages from the textbook of the exercises scanned in them, so you can just, after the explanation, you can get some time to do the exercise. Don't do all the numbers are in the notes, just find them there. Okay, so today we are doing quadratic equations. Quadratic means that the equation that I'm going to solve, if I have to solve for x, it's going to have an x squared. And we're going to have two answers. Two answers for each question. How do we solve the quadratic equation? We put the right hand side equal to 0. So in other words, we take everything to the left hand side and make 0 on the right. And then we factorize the left hand side and we set the factors equal to 0. Okay. So let's see how that works. The examples: solve for x. Number A, x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. Okay, so the first step was to put everything on the right hand side, left hand side, and make the right hand side 0. So let's see. Okay, so already we see that we have 0 on the right hand side. So that step is already done. Then we have to factorize the left hand side. So we're going to factorize that, and we get x minus 4, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, remember, every time that we solve an equation, we have to identify what type of equation we're working with, and that will determine our method. So here we identified that we have a squared, so it's a quadratic equation. That means I'm going to make everything, take everything to the left hand side, make the right hand side 0, and then factorize. Then I set each of the brackets equal to 0. So it's the first bracket is x minus 4 equal to 0 or x plus 2 equal to 0. Then I have to get x alone in each case. So it's x and the negative 4 goes over, it becomes positive 4, or x is equal to negative 2. So those are my two answers for number A. Then number B, for this one, I need to first multiply everything in. This is a FOIL rule question because it's 2 term times a 2 term. So it's going to be 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 is equal to negative 2. Now I take everything to the left hand side so that there's 0 on the right hand side. That negative 2 goes over and it becomes positive 2. So minus 2 plus 2 is 0. So I'm left with 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 0. Now I need to factorize. The first step of factorization is always to take out a common factor. So I take out a common factor of x and I have 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. That x in front, I can pretend that that's also in a bracket, or I can just put brackets around it. So because our rule says put each bracket equal to 0, so I'm going to say x is equal to 0 or 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now I get x alone. I take the 3 over, it becomes negative 3, and then I divide by 2, so it's negative 3 over 2. So those are the two answers for number B. Then, these are not in your notes, but I'm going to do some extra examples. Okay, the question is, solve the following equations. Okay, number A. X squared is equal to 16. First, I identify that I have a squared. So I'm going to take everything to the left-hand side. So I have x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. Now I factorize that. That's the difference between two squares. Now guys, you have to know your factorization rules. You have to be very good at factorization. We use factorization now to solve equations. So you have to really know your factorization. If you don't, and if you're still struggling with factorization, please contact your teacher to get some exercises for that, because that's very important. You cannot go on if you don't know your factorization. So now, in a difference of two squareds, I will have x plus 4, x minus 4 in the two brackets equal to 0. Then I set each bracket equal to 0 separately. So then I have x is equal to negative 4 or x is equal to 4. Okay, I hope you can start to see that the method is more or less the same every time. Okay, so sometimes that step that I highlighted there with yellow, people want to leave that out, and that's okay, you can. You can leave that step out and just get x is equal to negative 4 or x is equal to 4. Number B, 12x squared is equal to 3x. So first I take everything to the left-hand side so that there's 0 on the right-hand side. Then I need to factorize. I take out a common factor of 3x, then I'm left with 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. That 3x I can put in brackets, so I set each bracket equal to 0 separately. So it's going to be 3x is equal to 0 or 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now, the 3 gets divided on the other side. 0 divided by 3 just stays 0. So x is equal to 0, or on the other side, I say 4x is equal to 1. X is equal to 1 over 4. Number C, 3x squared minus 9x is equal to negative 6. Okay, so first I take everything to the left-hand side. 3x squared minus 9x plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay. First I take out a common factor of 3. Then I'm left with x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now I can get rid of that 3. That 3 is multiplied with a bracket. So I'm going to divide by 3 on the other side. 0 divided by 3 just stays 0. So what do we see here? When I take out a constant, I can divide it on the other side and it actually disappears. Now I'm going to factorize the part in brackets. It's a trinomial, so I'm going to say it's going to be x minus 2, x minus 1 equal to 0. Set each bracket equal to 0 separately. Then I get x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 1. Number D, 6x minus 9 minus x squared is equal to 0. Okay, so I don't like the order that those are in. I usually have x squared, then x's, then constants equal to 0. So I'm going to change the order of those terms. I'm going to say negative x squared plus 6x minus 9 is equal to 0. Now I like that order, but there's still something bothering me. That negative in front of the x squared is bothering me. So I'm going to divide right through with a negative or a negative 1. So that will change all the signs. It's going to be x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to 0. Okay, now I'm going to factorize that trinomial. So I will get x minus 3 and x minus 3. Now I set each bracket equal to 0. So I get x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 3. So x is actually just 3. Okay, last example. 2x minus 1 in brackets and then x plus 2 in brackets is equal to 25. First I need to multiply those brackets out. So it's going to be the FOIL rule. 2x squared plus 4x minus x minus 2 is equal to 25. Now I want the 25 to go over to the left-hand side so that I have 0 on the right-hand side. So I get 2x squared plus 3x minus 27 is equal to 0. Now that's a trinomial, but a little bit of a more difficult trinomial to factorize. So I'm going to use the cross method. Okay, so here's what I do. First I write down the factors of 2. So I'm going to have 2 brackets. That sign tells me I'm going to have different signs. So I'm going to have a bracket with a minus and a bracket with a plus. Then I write down the factors of 2. 2 times 1. Then I write down the factors of 27. I chose the right factors already, but you might have a few tries before you get the right ones. 9 times 3. Now I cross multiply. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. Now I ask myself, look at this. Can I subtract 9 and 6 to get 3? So that's how I read it. Look again. Can I subtract 9 and 6 to get 3? Yes, I can. So those will be my 2 brackets. The greater one gets the middle term sign. So the greater one was 9. So the top bracket will get a plus and the bottom one will get a minus. So the 2 brackets will be 2x plus 9 and 1x minus 3. Now I set each bracket equal to 0. So x is equal to 3. Then I take over the 9, it becomes negative 9, and divided by 2 is negative 9 over 2. So those are the 2 answers for that one. Now guys, you're going to do exercise 2 from your textbook or from the notes. Don't do all the numbers. Do only the numbers on that are set out for you on the notes. And then you press pause now. You do the questions. And after you've done it, we mark the questions. Okay, welcome back. You've done exercise 2 now on page 49 in your textbook, and I'm going to explain it while you mark it. Okay, number A2. A2 says x plus 4 and x minus 8 is equal to 0. This one is really nice because they already factorized it for us and we have a 0 on the right hand side. So most of the steps are already done. All that I need to do is set each of the brackets equal to 0. So it's x plus 4 is equal to 0 or x minus 8 is equal to 0. So x is equal to negative 4 or x is equal to positive 8. Number 3. X and in brackets x plus 3 is equal to 0. So now I put that x in front in my own bracket. There's already a 0 on the right hand side, so I can just set each bracket equal to 0. X is equal to 0 or x plus 3 is equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 3. Number 6. 3x and in brackets 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. Okay, so I put my own brackets around 3x. I set each bracket equal to 0. 3x is equal to 0 or 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. So it's going to be x is equal to 0 because 0 divided by 3 just stays 0. Then the 5 goes over, it becomes negative 5 and I divide by 2. So it's negative 5 over 2. Number B4. X squared is equal to 9x. Okay, I identify that this is a quadratic equation. So I'm going to take everything to the left hand side. So it's going to be x squared minus 9x is equal to 0. Now I factorize. To factorize that, I take out a common factor of x, and I'm left with x minus 9 is equal to 0. Now I set each bracket equal to 0, x is equal to 0, or x minus 9 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 9. Negative 2x squared minus 14x plus 16 is equal to 0. Okay, first I'm going to take out a common factor of negative 2 here. And then I have x squared minus 7x plus 8 is equal to 0. Now, that negative 2 in front, I can get rid of that by dividing with negative 2 on the other side. So I have a constant again. So I divide it, and then it just disappears, and now I'm going to factorize the trinomial in brackets. So I have two brackets, x minus 8, x minus 1 is equal to 0. Set each bracket equal to 0 separately. So I get x is equal to 8 or x is equal to 1. Good. Last few, I think there are 3 left. Okay, so B16, 6 and in brackets, 1 minus x squared is equal to 5x. Okay, first I'm going to multiply the 6 in, and then I'm going to take the 5 over to the left hand side, the 5x. So it's going to be 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times x squared is 6x squared. Minus 5x is equal to 0. Now that order is bothering me again. I want it to be x squared, then x's, then constants. So it's going to be negative 6x squared. I just changed the order. Minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. That negative in front is bothering me. So I'm going to divide by negative right through. That'll change all the signs. 6x squared plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now I factorize. 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 3. Sorry, that's going to be 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now I set each bracket equal to 0. Then I get 3x is equal to 2, so x is 2 over 3. On the other side, the 3 goes over, it becomes negative 2, divided by 2 is negative 3 over 2. So those are the two answers for that one. Number 22, 5 and in brackets, x minus 1 squared is equal to 45. First I divide by that 5 that's in front. So I get x minus 1 squared is equal to 9. Now, there are different methods to do this. But we are going to do it on this method now. So, I see that there's a squared. To get rid of that, I'm going to get the square root on the other side. So, I'm going to get x minus 1 is equal to plus minus the square root of 9. Please remember, you always have to have the positive and negative square root if you get the square root. So, it's x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set x minus 1 equal to positive 3 and x minus 1 equal to negative 3. So I'm going to set it equal to positive 3 and negative 3. Now I'm taking the negative 1 over, it becomes 4 or negative 2. Those are the two answers. Last question. Negative x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. So first I divide by a negative. It becomes x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. That's a difference of two squares. So I'm going to factorize it. X minus 3, x plus 3 is equal to 0. So set each of the brackets equal to 0. So x is equal to 3 or negative 3. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask your teacher by email.